My family forgot my birthday for 12 years straight. This year the mayor showed up instead. For 12 years in a row my own family forgot my birthday, and I stopped expecting anyone to remember it. So when a black car with a city seal on the door pulled into my mother's driveway on my 39th birthday, and the mayor of my hometown stepped out holding a folder with my name on it, I watched my entire family go silent for the first time in a decade. What none of them knew, what I had never told a single one of them, was about to walk up that driveway in a gray suit, and by the end of that afternoon, my family would finally understand exactly who they had been forgetting. My name is Maren Ashworth. I'm 39 years old, and I grew up the middle child in a house that ran on achievement the way other houses run on electricity. My older brother Colton played quarterback and later became a cardiologist. My younger sister Piper danced competitively and later opened a boutique that got written up in 3 regional magazines. I was the one who read books in the corner and didn't win anything anyone could put on a mantle. My mother, Denise, used to say it fondly, the way you say something you don't realize is a wound. Maren's just the quiet one. And quiet, in my family, turned out to be a kind of invisibility that compounded every year like interest on a debt nobody meant to charge me. It started small. My 27th birthday fell on the same weekend as Colton's medical school graduation, and nobody noticed the overlap until I mentioned it, gently, and my mother laughed and said we'd celebrate both together next time. There was no next time. The year after that, Piper's boutique had its grand opening on my birthday weekend, and the whole family drove 2 hours to be there, and I drove with them because that's what you do, and nobody said happy birthday until I said it to myself in a gas station bathroom mirror on the way home. By my 30th birthday, I stopped mentioning the date at all. I told myself it was maturity. It was actually surrender, and there is a difference even if from the outside they look exactly the same. Here is the part one never told them. In my late 20s, after a rough year that included a divorce nobody in my family asked many questions about, I started volunteering 2 evenings a week at a literacy center in the older part of town, the part with boarded storefronts and a library that had been threatened with closure twice. I didn't do it to prove anything. I did it because for 1 hour on a Tuesday, teaching a 61-year-old man named Otis how to read a prescription label, I felt like I existed in a way my own dinner table had never quite let me feel. 1 evening a week became 3. 3 became 5. And somewhere in there, without ever deciding to, I stopped being a volunteer and became the reason the center didn't close. I want to be clear that I never once mentioned any of this at a family gathering. Not because it was a secret in the dramatic sense, but because I had learned the hard way what happened when I brought something small and proud into that house. It got measured against Colton's residency and Piper's press clippings, and it always came up short, so I simply stopped bringing it. I built a whole second life in that part of town, quietly, patiently, the way you build something you're not sure anyone will ever see. Over 9 years, that little literacy center grew into something none of us expected. We added a food pantry. We added an after-school program for kids whose parents worked 2 jobs. I wrote grant applications at my kitchen table until 2 in the morning, applications I taught myself to write from library books, because none of us could afford a consultant. 3 years ago, we opened a second location on the east side of the county. Last year, the program helped over 400 families, and I still hadn't told my mother the name of the building I'd spent a decade of my life inside of. The rising moment came quietly, the way most real turning points do. 6 weeks before my 39th birthday, I got a call from the county's Civic Affairs office asking if I would be willing to accept a Community Impact Award at the mayor's office for founding and directing what had, without my quite noticing, become the largest literacy and family support network in the county. I said yes before I fully processed what I was agreeing to, and then I hung up the phone and sat at my kitchen table and cried in a way I hadn't cried in years. Not from sadness, but from the strange shock of being seen by strangers in a government office when I had never once been seen at my own dinner table. The Civic Affairs office asked where I'd like the presentation held, and gave me a firm date and a 2 o'clock time slot to plan around. I could have chosen the county building downtown, cameras and all. Instead, without fully understanding my own motives until much later, I gave them my mother's address and asked for one thing: no advance notice to my family. I told myself it was convenience. It wasn't. Some part of me, the part that had been quiet for 39 years, wanted my family to be standing in the room when the world finally told me I mattered, without a single hour to prepare a reaction for my benefit. My birthday that year fell on a Saturday, and true to form, Nobody in my family remembered it until I arrived at my mother's house for what I'd told them was just a normal weekend visit. Colton was there with his kids, home from his residency rotation. Piper had driven up from the city with fabric swatches for her fall line spread across the dining table. My mother was making her usual Saturday lasagna. Not one person said the words "Happy Birthday" to me, not even as I hung my coat on the same hook I'd used my entire childhood. I sat at that table and felt 39 years of quiet settle over me like a familiar coat, and for one long moment, I almost called the civic office to cancel. At exactly 2 o'clock, right on the schedule the city had given me weeks earlier, a black car with the city seal on the door pulled into the driveway. My mother went to the window first, the way mothers do when they hear an unfamiliar engine, and she said in a voice I will never forget, "Why is there a city car in my driveway?" I stood up before anyone could ask me anything because I already knew. I walked outside to meet a woman named Councilwoman Reyes and, right behind her, the mayor himself, holding a leather folder with my full name embossed on the front in gold. He shook my hand on the front lawn while my entire family stood frozen in the doorway, watching a scene they could not yet place me inside of. He said, in front of all of them, that the county had voted unanimously to award me the Community Impact Medal for building, from nothing, a literacy and family support network that now served over 400 families a year across 2 locations, and that he wanted to personally thank the woman behind it before the story ran in Monday's paper. My mother's hand went to her mouth. Colton, a man who had spent his career being the impressive one in every room he entered, stood on that porch looking, for the first time in his life, like the quiet one. Piper just said my name once very softly, like she was testing whether it belonged to the same sister she thought she knew. The mayor opened the folder and read a few lines about the center's history, about grants I had written alone at that same kitchen table my mother's lasagna was sitting on, about a man named Otis who had gone on at 63 to get his GD because a quiet woman named Maren Ashworth had refused to give up on him. My mother was crying by then, and I want to tell you it felt like vindication, and for about 30 seconds it did. Then it just felt sad because I understood, standing there on that lawn with a medal in my hands, that it had taken a stranger in a gray suit to say my name out loud in front of my own family with something other than an apology attached to it. After the car pulled away, we went back inside, and the lasagna had gone cold, and nobody touched it for a long time. My mother sat across from me and asked very quietly why I had never told her. I told her the truth, which was that I had tried in small ways for years, and every small thing I'd ever brought to that table had been quietly set beside Colton's and Piper's and found wanting, until I simply stopped bringing anything at all. I told her that a person can only offer their pride to the same room so many times before they build a second room where it's safe. Colton didn't say much that day. He's not a man of many words when he's ashamed, I've learned since. For almost 2 months he just texted the ordinary things, whether his kids' school pictures, nothing about that porch. Then one Tuesday evening he showed up at the literacy center in scrubs, straight from a shift, and asked almost sheepishly if they needed anyone to help with health literacy classes for the families who came through. It wasn't a dramatic apology. It was just a man quietly showing up week after week, until showing up became the apology. Piper took longer. It was closer to a season before the first box of end-of-season inventory appeared at the back door. No note, no press release, just clothes for the after-school kids, dropped off the way I used to drop off my own pride for years and pick it back up unopened. My mother has never quite found the words to apologize the way I think she wants to. But this year, for the first time in 12 years, she wrote the date in her own calendar in permanent ink, 3 months early. The night before, she called just to ask what kind of cake I wanted. It wasn't a grand gesture. Didn't need to be. 12 years of being forgotten had taught me that the smallest remembering, done sincerely, can undo more than any medal ever could. I think about that lawn a lot, the mayor's car pulling away, my family standing in a doorway they'd walked through 1,000 times suddenly seeing me for the first time. I used to believe that being the quiet one meant being the forgettable one, and I spent a decade quietly proving myself wrong in a part of town my own family never thought to visit. What I understand now is that you don't need the whole table to notice you to be worth noticing. You just need to stop waiting for permission to matter, and go build the room where you already do. If this story reminded you of a family that only sees you once someone else points, that's exactly the kind of story we tell here. Make sure you're subscribed to Comtail Stories. Because every week we bring you real, quiet, powerful stories about the people who finally stopped waiting to be remembered. And if you've ever felt forgotten at your own table, stay close, because next week's story might just be the one that finally puts your feelings into words.